All right. Welcome back to the Caribou Media Outdoors podcast. With me tonight is John Mulligan, a.k.a. Johnny Utah. How's it going, brother?
It's going good. Going really, really good. It's cold outside.
It's cold.
Yeah.
How cold is it down in Iowa?
I think it was like 24 today. Super cloudy, but we had like 25-mile-an-hour winds. So you know how that is.
Yeah.
Makes it feel like it's in the teens.
Yeah, I live in the middle of 1,000 acres of corn. Mm-hmm. So as soon as it all comes down, it's just wind tunnel for months, right?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I get snow drifts on my driveway. I have to hire a plow guy to come and plow me out.
Yeah.
It's nuts. So we're getting a bit of a storm tonight. So I might jump in the saddle tomorrow morning and hopefully see what I can see. It's been a pretty slow season.
Yeah. Where are you located?
So I'm in Ontario in Canada.
Yeah.
So we've got about 400,000 whitetail deer in all of Ontario. Our land mass is pretty big though. Like it'll take 3 days to drive out of Ontario.
Yeah.
To get into the next province, which you guys have in most of your states, you can kind of zip through pretty quickly or fairly quickly. So you can kind of jump around, which is cool. We're kind of stuck unless we jump on a plane or commit to the drive. But
right. Yep.
Yeah. So
I've been up, I've hunted up in Nipigon.
Okay. Yep.
I have hunted there. That's actually where I shot a big black bear in 2019 with my bow. I shot it up there. The skull ended up being 21 and 9/16.
Oh, wow.
Giant black bear. He weighed like 545, which was big, but his skull was just really big. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that was pretty cool. But everybody's like, what are you going to do now? They're like, you're probably not going to shoot a bigger black bear. I was like, I guess I'm done. Like that's it. One and done.
Yeah. Well, we had the camp that I go up to, which is it's near Algonquin Park, which is like one of our bigger parks. And one of the guys shot a black bear. I think it was close to 350 or 400. And I remember we literally had to reach inside and like grab a rib.
Yeah.
3 or 4 of us to pick it up. It was so
big. It was crazy. Like, I remember I called. So I guess, most Canadians understand how this works, but some people in the lower 48, they might not understand how this works. You want to come to Canada. It's not just the wild, wild west. Like you got to go with an outfitter, buy your tag from him, your license at Canadian Tire or whatever,
Yeah.
And then, the crown land versus public land, it's just a nomenclature, but, so Bob Behrman, Nipigon River, outfitters, he passed away, 2 years ago, but Bob's like, here's a map. Here's where I have some barrels. Some of them have been baited. Some of them haven't. Just don't get eaten. If you get lost, call me and we'll try to find you.
That's the
plan. I was like, oh, okay. So you go in and you hang your own sets and
oh wow, nice.
It's literally like DIY public land, hunting. And so anyways, I didn't know, I don't know anything about bears. I have no idea. It's my first bear hunt ever. So I kind of whitetail hunted this bear. I thought there's this big, huge like rock face. And I was like, a bear's not climbing straight up a rock face with no ledges or nothing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I was like, so everything's just going to have to traverse around it. And that should be just a constant parade of bears, right. or wildlife in general. So that's where I hung a set. And I literally was in the tree an hour and a half. And he comes in, and so I called the guy, and I was like, "Hey, Bob," I was like, "I just shot a big bear," and he goes, "Oh, lower 48 guy coming up here like a cowboy. I'm gonna go to Canada, and shoot me a big bear." And I was like, "No, I'm telling you, it's a giant bear. Bring giant
people."
Yeah, and he goes, "Well, I can't." I'm like, "What do you mean you can't?" I was like, "It's just me and my camera guy." And trust me, he's not strong enough. Like, he's not a strong guy. I was like, so I'm going to be doing all the heavy lifting. I was like, I can't even, like, it was all I could do to pick up his head.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, shot a bear so big, can't even lift its head, eh? And he's like, well, I can't come help you because I'm drunk. you're going to have to come get me. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Oh, wow.
So thanks. I go and pick him up, and we hook up the trailer, and the trailer's already got the Argo on it. And we ended up having to cut a trail, and it took 5 of us. It was all we could do to slide this bear into the back of the Argo. And even it's funny because when I went back and I watched this old episode for, shits and giggles. And after you see the final push to get the bear into kind of, he's half in the Argo, half out of the Argo, you actually see me like grab my lower back, and I'm like, oh, and still to this day, my lower back still hurts.
Still feeling it. Wow.
Yeah. But it's cool. I got him full mounted in the family room, and
oh, cool.
Yeah. So it's super neat. His ears are about an inch away from the 8-foot ceiling. Yeah. And he's not standing aggressive because it's a black bear, Yeah. I just have him standing like with his paw, like one of his paws is leaning up like against an aspen, and it's pretty cool looking, like he's just standing up and looking, but it's a cool mount. Old Barn Taxidermy did just a phenomenal job. So yeah, it's pretty cool to have in the house. The dogs hate it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. You get most of your stuff done there. Is that right?
Yeah. When I moved here, I started working with Sam and Linda Gaylord, the owners of Old Barn Taxidermy, and we met, and they're just super genuine people, and they do amazing work. And actually, for the first couple of years that I was working with them, they actually were a client of another one of my companies called Johnny Utah Creative, which is just a marketing consulting type firm. Mm-hmm. And they approached me, and they wanted to grow their taxidermy business. And I said, well, let's do it the right way. So I linked them up with like a podcast, in our area, and linked them up with a couple of other hunting shows in the area to kind of really get the word out. And I mean, within 2 years, we grew from 150 shoulder mounts to like 450 shoulder mounts a year.
Wow.
But then I actually worked myself out of a job because they're like, dude, we can't take any more. We're maxed out. They're like, you're done.
We don't need you anymore.
I essentially got fired for doing too good of a job. Yeah. But they stayed on board with the show as a partner on the show. So
right. Yeah.
So cool. And taxidermy bills, I mean, let's face it, it's expensive.
Yeah. It's not cheap.
Yeah. Especially when you hunt for a living. So
yeah. Yeah. I kind of like to ask people, go back in time a little bit.
Yeah.
The first time you picked up a bow, what did that look like? And how did that transition into bow hunting for you?
So I grew up in Kentucky, and I didn't know anything about hunting at all. Like, I grew up with horses and cattle. And when I was a kid and a teenager, we didn't have whitetail deer in central Kentucky. Like, I remember in high school, there was a guy that hunted. He was a deer hunter, and I knew nothing of the sort. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I've never even seen one. Like, why would you want to go hunt something that doesn't exist, right? And he didn't kill anything that season, but he saw a doe. He was the most popular kid in school for like a week because he saw a deer, Now, I went to college, Eastern Kentucky University, which is not very far. It's still kind of in central Kentucky. And there was a couple of, people that were shooting deer in like Southern Kentucky and Eastern Kentucky. And I saw a few whitetails. But then when I moved to Northern Kentucky and I started policing, there's a really good, at that time, and still is a really good herd, good deer numbers there. And one of the guys that I was a cop with, he was from Texas, and he says, man, he goes, we ought to get into deer hunting. And I go, I don't know anything about it. And he's like, you're from Kentucky. Like, don't you guys eat possums and squirrels and stuff, And I'm like, maybe, but I don't know anything about deer hunting. So, aging myself a little bit, I went to the public library and I checked out books like literally Whitetail Strategies, Whitetail 101. And that was the stuff that like I read up on and taught myself how to deer hunt, because my dad wasn't a deer hunter. Why would he be? There's no deer. So
they don't exist.
Yeah, they didn't exist. Like, he liked to fish, and to me that was boring as hell. Mm-hmm. So My buddy talks me into deer hunting, and I started out rifle hunting. And after about 3 or 4 seasons, I had shot a couple of does, I'd shot a couple of bucks. And I don't know, I'm not going to say I started to go woke or anything, but I'm like, it just seems like pointless killing. Like, I just shot this deer at 300 yards. That buck didn't even know I existed on planet Earth at all. Yeah. And I'm like, if I'm going to do this, it's got to be a challenge. I like things that challenge me, that push me, even if I fail. You learn when you fail. And I'm a firm believer in that practice mindset. So one of the guys at the local gun store, he was also a Matthews dealer at the time. And he said, man, are you getting fired up about deer? And I was like, not at all. Like, this is dumb, And he's like, you need a bow. That's what you need. You need a bow. You need to get into archery hunting. And I said, well, brother, I got a toddler at home, and I can tell you right now, I've seen the price tag on those things. And if I come home with one of those, I'll be working off-duty details, for the next 3 years if she doesn't change the locks. So he says, Matthews allows me to sponsor 1 shooter a year out of the shop. And it was, I remember, I believe it was the Adrenaline. Okay. Maybe it was the Adrenaline had just come out, or maybe it was the FX2, something like that. Still, solo cam, bow. And so anyways, he said, I tell you what, I'm going to give you a bow. And all you got to do is buy a sight, arrows, the only thing you got to do is still drop $900, but yeah. So it'll
be okay.
Yeah. So I got a bow, and man, I tell you what, in the backyard, I was pretty good. I was like Robin Hood, but in the tree stand, every time I went to draw or stand up or move, I got busted. And I'm like, man, give me my rifle back. This sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not killing anything. And then I remember I got my first kill with my bow, and that was super huge. And then the first really good kill that I had, I filmed it, and that hunt ended up making it to the White Knuckle Productions TV show and DVD. And of course, that then everything was like drinking through a fire hose at that point, because then I became business partners with the owner of that show, Todd Prignitz, at Wicked Tree Gear. And then I was co-host of the show White Knuckle, and was then started managing all the partnerships on the show and talking about trial by fire. Like, I didn't know how to manage partners, you know what I mean? Like, and so all of this happened in like 2013, 2014. It was, I mean, just crazy. I literally went from one good buck kill. I mean, I had shot other bucks and does prior to that, but I had one good hunt under my belt, a mid-50s class deer in Kentucky. And then within 2 years, like, I'm doing this for a part-time job. And, like I said, co-owner of Wicked Tree Gear. And then you fast forward 2 more years, we sold Wicked Tree Gear, and I moved to Iowa, and bam, then everything started full-time. And I've been in it full-time since like 2016.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, because I started off when I was 7. I shot at this family trip we had. They had it was like a sports kind of recreation resort. You could go kayaking or whatever, and they had archery behind the gym and stuff. So I started there, and then I did recurve in high school, and then I got away from it. And then one of my friends from the high school team calls me up, and he's like, I just bought a compound bow. These things are the shit. Yeah. You gotta go buy one. So he brought it over, and I'm right-handed, but I'm left eye dominant, so I shoot left.
Same. So I'm exactly the same.
Okay, so he gives me his right-handed one, and I'm like, Mike, I'm not gonna be able to shoot this properly. He goes, just do it. Yeah. And I think I missed the target by 3 feet. And he's like, those are expensive aluminum arrows. Right into the cornfield, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so that kind of ignited it for me. And then I went down the rabbit hole and found, I think I Googled bow hunting, because I moved from the suburbs to the country, started helping coach my son's hockey team. Everybody hunts up here.
Oh yeah.
And we got like a grass-fed, grass-finished cow, quarter of a cow that we split up with some family, and it was amazing. And then it kind of got the wheels turning, like, what does everything else taste like, right? So
yeah.
we had a family member with property. He's like, you want to hunt, come with me. Same thing, right? Got a rifle, sat in a tree stand. I'm like, I like being out here, but I didn't have that connection to the gun. Not that I don't like guns. I have rifles right behind me. But I just didn't have that connection. And then the following year I bought a Hoyt Helix Ultra in 2019. Went up there and shot a bear, and I was like, I'm doing this forever.
Yeah.
Like, that was just sold, right? It was just amazing.
And I had that same feeling like you just described. When I shot that first good buck with my bow, like I said, it was like it's like a 153 and some change. And in Kentucky at that time, you know, that's like a 180 Iowa deer. You know what I mean? Like, that was a hammer. And I was like, I don't care what I do the rest of my life, I will bow hunt until the day I die. And you know, there's only been a few things in my life that have hit me like that. Bow hunting did that. And of course I love rifle hunting, and I'll always, you know, I appreciate any form of hunting, but bow hunting hit me like that really hard. And jiu-jitsu, like, those were the two things in life that I was like, there's like a weird mental connection to it all that just, I couldn't imagine never doing that again, you know?
Did you, what was the kind of deciding factor for you going all in and making that your job?
So, you know, I did undercover narcotics in Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati, Ohio. And I worked under DEA task force, FBI task force, and ATF task force. And so, you know, you might have some days that you're just pulling trash, or you're in court or something like that. But then there was to be some days where you might hit 8-9 doors, you know, at a time, with flashbangs and make dynamic entries, no knock search warrants and things like that. And for an adrenaline junkie, that was super cool.
Oh yeah, there's nothing like stacking up a door with your friends with a ram.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's super fun. I encourage everybody to do it one time, even if it's just for fun. But there was something about the job, you know, after 16 years of doing it, like it, you know, you try to explain this to people that have not done law enforcement or corrections, and even, you know, firefighters. Every human, I have a theory, every human is born with some type of a bucket to compartmentalize their shit in, right? Now, some people are born with a thimble, some people are born with a 5-gallon bucket, and some people are born with a 55-gallon drum. I like to think that I was born with a 55-gallon drum, but when that cup runneth over, that's it. It doesn't matter how big your bucket is. When you're full, you're full. And I was getting to that point. I knew mentally that I was full. And one of the stories, and I've told this before, you're kicking indoors all the time. And my wife sat me down. Now, I was obsessed. And I'm impulsive. I'm obsessive. That's what I do. You know, anything worth doing is worth overdoing. And it's led to success in my life, and it's led to failures. But I remember my wife sitting me down. We had 3 kids at the time, and our third had been born. And she said, what's the chances of you kicking in a door the very first day on the job and you get shot? I'm like, you know, I mean, I don't know, 1 in a million. She's like, okay, what about the second time? What about the 200th time? What about the 250th time? You know, every time you do it, the chances get smaller, you know, the chances of getting shot, that percentage is going up and up and up and up. And I was volunteering my time. Like, even after I'd already hit 20 hours of OT that week, I would literally call, you know, one of the supervisors and be like, hey, you need another guy on the stack? You need a guy for perimeter? You need another entry guy? And I would go in on my days off. And she's like, where are you going? I'm like, I got called into work. You know, it's crazy. Like, I'd love to stay here at home, but I got called in. And that's how addicted to it that I was. And I wanted to do it every chance I could. And she sat me down one day and she said, you know, there's a bullet out there with your name on it, and it's like you're trying to find it. And that resonated with me, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I thought, man, what an asshole. You know, I've got 3 kids at home that I love to death. And I think a lot of jobs like that, you know, you really hold on to the edge. Like, you put yourself in a position where I'm invincible, because if there's any hesitation whatsoever, that's when you get shot. Just like in a car pursuit going through a red light, it's always the second car that gets hit. It's not the first car.
Yeah. No.
So I think I was holding on to that ragged edge, like of a razor blade, the sharpest edge of the razor blade. And then when she said that, it like took a chunk. It dulled that blade out real fast. Right. And it was like overnight. I woke up and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. And it wasn't that I was scared. You know, no. Anybody that does law enforcement, the fear of death, you get over that day one. If you don't, you're not going to make it in that job anyway. So it wasn't a fear of death. You know, I like to say I have a fear of dying before I get to do everything I want to do in life. That's my genuine fear. But I wasn't scared of the job. It wasn't like I was worried about my skill set or my teammates or anything like that. It just, I realized this is not what I want to do forever. And it was perfect timing, man. I mean, perfect timing. I had messed up my back, and I went to a deer and turkey expo in Columbus, Ohio, and I met this guy that was like over the top excited about deer hunting, named Todd Prignitz. And he had this TV show called White Knuckle Productions. And Todd, I just remember Todd being in the booth, you know, woo, you know, he was all amped up and excited. And I'm like, man, this guy's a live wire, you know? And we met, and he's like, hey, I want to show you something I'm working on. It's this folding handsaw. I'm like, ooh, that looks pretty cool. It's like skeletonized handle and made out of cast aluminum. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. And I became a dealer for that company because I owned a landscape company as well on the side. Dude, anybody knows me, I've got 100 irons in the fire all the time, you know, running full tilt, you know, like a vampire. I don't sleep. And so anyways, I said, I think I could sell a lot of those to landscapers. And he's like, landscapers? Like, no, these are made for hunters, trimming shooting lanes. And I said, let me explain something to you. Killing whitetails in 45 states, but they're cutting trees in like 800 countries, you know? So the bigger picture is the green industry. And so I tapped us into the green industry as a dealer. And literally 6 months later, I was a part owner of the company.
Wow.
And then, like I said, he's like, you need to start filming your hunts. And I filmed my first hunt, and I'm like, oh, that was pretty fun, you know? And like I said, everything from the day I filmed my first hunt to the start really of where I am now, that was 18 months. Change of career, move to a new state. Wow. And everything. Yeah. It was pretty wild, you know, how fast it all kind of happened. And I still today, I just say, man, I'm not the best hunter in the world. I get lucky a lot, and I just got lucky, right place, right time, you know, scenario.
Yeah. I was looking at some of your pictures, and the one that really stands out and is when you laying next to that huge moose.
that was up in Saskatchewan.
That was Saskatchewan, right?
Yeah. I was hunting some res ground up there.
Yeah, and then there was, I think, was it the same episode where you were in a ground blind? Hunting whitetail, and you had one of those little buddy heaters, and it looked like it wasn't helping.
No, it was negative 39.
Yeah,
it's negative 39. Oh. That's literally the coldest I'd ever been. I remember when I came to full draw, because my camera girl, Leslie, she had shot a buck with her rifle, and I didn't think nothing about it. And then the next day I'm at full draw on that whitetail. And I had two things happen. The first thing is I'm like, man, this is just like watching the old, Monster Buck episodes. Cause like I would see David Blanton and David Morris and those guys, they would shoot Canadian like whitetails in Saskatchewan. And I'm like, why are they shooting that 140-inch deer? And then they walk up to it on the recovery, and I'm like, oh no, that's a 180. It's just the body's so big.
Huge.
It made the antlers look small.
Just look small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
huge.
when the second thing that happened was when I came to full draw, I was like, it's negative 39. Like, what if my string explodes or my limbs shatter? I'm like, surely they test this stuff in these conditions. I had so many layers of clothes on. I was like Ralphie's little brother from Christmas Story. That once I came to full draw, I was like, I'm locked in rigid, like. So right when I did this, as I was pulling through the shot, I just closed my eyes because I'm like, this thing's gonna explode in my face, and I'm gonna have carbon fiber limbs. You know what I mean? In my eyes or something. But yeah, that was a really cold hunt. But that's the cool shit for me. Like, I want to hunt extreme locations, extreme conditions. Remember that movie with Brad Pitt, Troy? He has that really famous, iconic line, and he's like, that's why no one will remember your name. When I die, I could care less what people say about me, other than I want them to say that was a hard ass worker. He worked his ass off. He had strong work ethic, and he busted ass and everything that he did. That's the only thing I really care about as far as my legacy goes. So I love hunting those cool conditions like that because, like me retelling the story, I feel like it just happened yesterday. I remember every second of the snow falling. I remember how the deer came in. I remember when I shot him and he whirled away, the direction that he took. And I mean, I remember every detail of it.
Work more hours, right?
That's it. Yeah. That was a motto that my dad came up with before he passed away. And, it's just super cool. Like asking my dad, I'm like, I was like teenager. I'm like, how do you make more money? And he's like, just work more hours.
Yep.
And, he was using it in a reference to working and making money financially. But what he meant was anything worth doing in life, you're going to have to put in work and put in time. So whether you want to have a better relationship with God, better marriage, better relationship with your friends and family, whatever it is, your passions, your hobbies, you're going to have to work towards it. And so I have a list of buddies that, we only talk a couple of times a year, but, I'm really big on shooting just a random text. Just, hey, man, just checking in, see how you're doing, and making sure that at least I'm putting in that time to make sure that I keep up with, those relationships.
Yeah, I'm finding that's kind of a lost mentality now. Like, I know even with my kids, I've got a 17, 15-year-old, and my son is 17, and he'll show me a picture of somebody that's like ripped on Instagram. Oh, look at this guy. He must work out a lot. I'm like, yeah, you could be like that too if you want to. You just got to put the work in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's all about putting in the time. There's nothing that's stopping you from doing the same thing.
And tell him I said thank you for the compliments.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's kind of goes back to Instagram. Like I look at Instagram like it's in tiers, right? Like at the top, you got the people that everybody looks up to, who are putting the work in and doing the thing, right? And then you've got people who are dying to be that person and will do anything to do that, whether it's cheating their way to the top or buying followers or whatever you want to call it, right? Or pretending that they're doing the thing that makes them look like that person, right? And then you've got other people who are doing it organically, just working their way up, and then you got people that don't care and they just want to post pictures, right? So it's I don't know.
It takes all kinds. It's I've actually told this story before. I don't know that I've ever told it on a podcast, but my wife and I, we were down in Florida. My dad, he loved Florida before he passed away, and he bought a piece of property down around Fort Myer, Cape Coral, Florida, on the Gulf side. And so my wife and I, we went to this, there was a Burger King that's like right on the beach. I mean, literally sand in the floors of Burger King. Awesome. And so I was like, I want a burger, man. I want a burger. I want like a Mountain Dew or Mellow Yellow, whatever they sell. Yeah. So we walk up there and there's a bathroom. And I was like, her and I, we both go to the bathroom. And, I don't care if you're non-binary or what you believe in. I'm not going to debate all that, like Theo Von says, but it takes women longer to go to the restroom than it does men.
Mm-hmm.
So we both go to the bathroom together. We come out. I come out before her, and I'm standing there in a pair of shorts, no shirt, and I'm covered in tattoos. Some people have seen them in some of the posts, but there is an Asian family, and they have their cameras. And I'm not making fun of Asians when they travel with cameras, but it happens a lot. And they start taking pictures of me. And I was like, they're like, she's a lady. She goes, you have a mini tattoo. Can I take pictures? I'm like, yeah, I don't care, whatever,
Fill your
so yeah, I'm like, whatever you want to do. Hey, we found an American with tattoos. You know what I mean? So they're taking pictures of me. And then other people start taking pictures. And then other people see them taking pictures. And it's like a full-on paparazzi type thing, right? Mm-hmm. So my wife, she comes out of the bathroom.
I just want to whopper.
Yeah, she's like, what the fuck? She's like, what did you do? What did you do? I left you for like 2 minutes. What'd you do? I'm like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I overhear, now Americans are coming up. And I overhear somebody, as they're taking pictures, they don't stop taking pictures. And they say, hey, who is this guy? And somebody answers, and they're like, I don't know who he is, but everybody's taking his picture. He must be famous.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a light bulb went off, and I'm like, that's social media. Yeah. This is social media right here. There's so much FOMO out there. Mm-hmm. People are following people because of the masses. They're like, well, these celebrities follow him, so they must be awesome. Are they? Are they really doing cool shit? Are they doing canned hunts? And I don't care if somebody does canned hunts, DIY hunts, if they hunt out of a loincloth, with a homemade, limb that they bent over and they got a piece of yarn and a stick. I don't care how they hunt. Just be authentic about what you're doing and educate, entertain. That's what I like, either make me laugh or teach me something I didn't know. But I also judge people on what is their potential. If they're a millionaire, are they doing cool shit with that money? If they're broke as hell and they're still going and finding ways to cool shit, that's cooler to me, because they're maximizing those limited opportunities. I hate social media. I can't stand it. It's a big popularity contest.
It's like high school.
It is. It's high school all over again. It's not on your merit. It's who you know, not what you know. It's not what you do. And it's sad. It's a sad world that we live in. You see so many of these like fake collaborations that people are doing. And I'm like, wait a second. You guys just went on a hunt together. Just last week, you told me that you can't stand that guy. You actually called him a cocksucker. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and now you're buddies because you're making a video together. Oh, you're just fishing off of each other's peers to get more likes. I'm like, man, that's why you don't see me collab with anybody. Yeah. If I go through my phone and look at the top 5 people that I talk to on a daily basis, one guy doesn't even have Instagram. The other guy has 200 followers. The other guy has 1,000, and the other guy has 2,000. If you add all these guys up, one lives in Texas, one lives in like on the Iowa-Minnesota border. My camera girl, she lives in Pennsylvania. My other buddy lives in Maryland. Another one lives in West Virginia. Like nobody even lives near me. And they're just rad, good, solid people.
Yep.
And they don't treat me, they don't come to me and say, hey bro, like, can you hook me up with Hoyt? Can you think you can give me some free Sevr Broadheads, or maybe Grizzly will send me a free cooler or something like that?
Yeah,
nobody, they don't hit me up for that shit. And
no.
That's the most annoying thing in the world is whenever people hit me up for that kind of stuff. And I'm like, dude, I don't work for them. I don't own the company. So, yeah. And the biggest dose of reality was the day that I sold Wicked Tree Gear. I called Verizon. I thought they shut my phone off. I'm like, did I not pay my bill? My phone hasn't rang. It usually it rings 50 times a day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but once I made a public announcement, it was on the Outdoor Wire and stuff like that, that Todd and I had sold Wicked Tree Gear. My phone stopped ringing because no one had anything else to gain from me ever again. And I was like, wow. There's some shallow people out there in the world,
Yeah.
I'm like, I actually don't have friends. You know, I have people that want something from me, you know, and that's the reality of it in this industry, which is why I have always taken the position when it comes to partnerships that I work with, it's people first, product second, but they both better be awesome. You know, I'm not going to use a garbage brand, you know, if the people are awesome. They got to have a good product.
Of course.
But I choose the people first. You know, the partnerships that I have, like the people at Loophole and Easton and Sevr and Hoyt and HHA. And I mean, I could go on and on looking at this list. I mean, Domain and 5150, like my gas gun company that I work with, they're the coolest people in the world. And they're a small company. They're grinding and grinding and grinding, and they just haven't got the recognition for a badass product because guess what? They're not popular, but they have the best AR out there, you know? Reveal Tacticam, Code Blue, you know, like I said, Grizzly, Luminoc, for crying out loud. I mean,
they've been around forever.
Yeah, they were electricians that started making lighted nocks in Illinois. And I mean, they're just, every single one of those people that I named, it would be my opportunity, my pleasure to go out and have dinner with them and have conversations with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not a sellout. Yeah, there's a business side to all of this. I got to keep the lights on, you know,
of course,
I have bills to pay, but all of my partnerships are with people that I genuinely, you know, respect them, you know, and their brands, what they're building. And I try to be a part of it and treat it like it is my company. I don't want to waste their money and want to help tell their story.
Just want to take a quick break to talk to you about a couple of things that I've been using that I think might benefit you. One is this Numa Outdoors gear. This is in their Kaza OV pattern, which is great whitetail pattern when you're up in a tree in the fall and late season. They also have a Kaza pattern which has more green in it, which is good for spring through to the fall. Numa has given me a code to give to you of Caribou Media 20, which will save you 20% at checkout. Another product here that I've been using for years now is the Bulldog targets. This is a Canadian made target. They're made in Manitoba. They have a lifetime warranty. I've used that warranty twice now on a couple of my larger targets that are outside. It's very simple, very easy. These targets are 2-finger removal every single time, which is incredible. Field point only target. Bulldog's been gracious enough to give me a 20% discount code to give to you at checkout. Use code BD20-Caribou-Media. That'll save you 20% on these awesome targets. Now back to the show. Yeah, I tell my kids all the time, like, it's not about the followers. Like I said, you need to have 5 friends, or get yourself a handful of friends that you can call at a moment's notice. Like I've said before, I want someone that I can call at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, I need help. And they say, do I need a shovel? And where am I driving to?
Yeah. Whose car are we going to take?
Whose car are we going to take? Right. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. No. And that's the same way. And when I was younger, I remember my dad, you know, he was like, by the time you hit 40 years of age, he's like, if you've got 5 solid friends, you're doing good. I'm like, 5? Yeah. Like, I've got hundreds. Yeah. And as you get older, I'm like, no, I got 5, you know, 5 that I could bank on. Like you said, those 3 o'clock in the morning calls, like, I got a dead body. You know what I mean? I need some help.
That's right.
Or I got to get out of the country fast, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I only got about 5 dudes, you know, well, 4 dudes and 1 chick that I know that I could count on like that, you know? So yeah, dude, it's funny traveling around with my camera girl. She's a Marine vet, and she's like this 5'1", just full of piss and vinegar. You know what I mean? It's awesome. She always jokes, and she's like, you ever have a problem with anybody? Let me know. I'll handle your light work. I'm like, all right, sounds good. I thought we were going to have a Donnybrook at TAC this year at the Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah. I was there. Yeah, I actually saw you there. You were on the loophole. We were a couple targets ahead of you on the loophole course. And I was like, guys, look. There's Johnny.
Oh, I remember talking to you guys. Yeah, we were right there by the pond.
Yeah. And then messaged you and I was like, you think you were at the Sevr booth?
Yeah.
And then I came down and we missed each other, but
yeah.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was our first time at TAC.
Uh-huh.
A group of us went, and we got there on the Thursday, and we were shooting Friday, and we walked into the vendor village, and within 5 minutes I turned to them and I said, we are coming back here every single year.
Yeah, that's a good one. That
Oh
the
man.
Pennsylvania TAC, in my opinion, is probably one of the better ones that they have. I've been to that one a few years, and same scenario. Yeah, I have a TV show. I do this for a living. Sevr calls me and they're like, "You want to hang out in the booth?" Hell yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I'll do it. Like, not too big to do anything. I'll help pedal broadheads for the weekend. Like, if it helps you, it helps me.
Yeah.
And I get to be around fellow archery hunters, and I'm like, these are my people. Like, this is cool, and I love interacting with people, and I do remember our interaction there at the pond, and thankfully I made a good shot on that little groundhog or whatever it was. I always worry about that. Somebody going, I thought he was supposed to have a TV show. I thought he was supposed to be an awesome shooter, But I mean, heck, I make mistakes too,
Yeah,
like, I don't always
do.
have the best arrow, but yeah, I do remember you guys coming up, and I love that stuff, because I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody does watch the show. Like, somebody does see what I do, because I put my heart and soul into this, and I want to do a good job representing these brands, and I strive to be as authentic as I possibly can. I don't ever want anybody to feel like I'm selling them something.
Right.
If I say it's awesome, that's just my personal opinion. Like, I think they're good people and it's a good product, and maybe somebody ought to check it out. But there's a lot of that fake shit out there that's so annoying, and it drives me crazy.
Well, we were I have a YouTube channel. I do a lot of review videos and stuff, and I was filming us for the few days that we were there, and we ran into Dudley. So we're talking to John Dudley, and then I basically had the camera recording, and I handed it to one of his guys, and we were going to pose for a picture. I said, just hold it up. Like, it's already recording. I'll just take a thumbnail for it, or I'll take a picture from the video
shot or something.
And he like launched into this whole intro. He asked me what it was for, and I told him, and he launched into this like whole intro for the video. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So somebody commented the other day, oh, how much did you have to pay Dudley to do that for you? And I'm like, nothing. He did it on his own. Like, that, everybody just thinks that once you get up to a certain level of popularity or success, that you're just going to be out there for, selling time in front of a camera. Like, there's more to that. There's more to people than just that, It's like, and I found that with even different companies that I've spoken to, like the guys from Sevr have been amazing. And it's just like you said.
Do you talk to Cody over there?
Casey.
Okay, yeah, Casey does a lot of the social media stuff, and then there's Cody as well, and they're super
fantastic. Awesome. Yeah. So, it's just great. Do you have a favorite Sevr Broadhead, or do you go through different?
The 2.0s. Yeah, I mean, for mule deer and whitetails, I shoot the 2.0s, and then next big game, like big game archery hunt. Then I'll probably look at like the 1.5 hybrids. Yeah. It's kind of what I've told myself I would do. But I know, like, this year on my Colorado mule deer hunt, I had some 1.5s and I had some 2.0s in my quiver. And I ended up stalking into 42 yards. And I was like, yeah, we're going with the 2.0. We're fine.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Which Hoyt are you using? Is it the carbon, or are you going back and forth, or what are you doing?
Right now, I'm actually looking at the RX9.
RX9. Okay.
Yeah. So I shot the RX8 this season, and then we switched over to the RX9, and so that's what I'll be running for late season. And it's funny because they were giving me crap. They're like, dude, you've had your RX9 for like a month, and you haven't done anything. I'm like, I haven't even taken it out of the box. I was grinding I was grinding every single day. Yeah. And I was like, guys, I cannot and I'm not going to take a day off of hunting to set up an RX-9 when this RX-8 is lights out.
Lights out.
It's dialed in, and I can't do it. And I'm on a giant, like I'm on a true Iowa giant right now. I've got 3 years of history with this buck. I put an arrow in him 2 years ago, and he did not die. I caught a branch, ended up hitting front of the shoulder. Was like, I almost unclipped my tether and just like took a header out of the tree. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm done.
I'm done.
That's it. This is where I die. I was ready to vomit. I mean, it was so bad. Like, I even sent the footage to Lakoski, and Lee's like, dude, that's a dead deer all day long. He's like, congratulations. That's your biggest buck ever. It's a smoker. You know, he was like 185, 189 2 years ago. Wow. And he's bigger now. And I've had one encounter with him, and I've had lots of trail camera photos, and just can't close the distance. So we've got muzzleloader season starting back up Monday. Okay. So it's going to give me a little more reach. I'd love to shoot him with the bow, but he's a buck that I'm not going to let walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For sure.
Even, I don't care if I had an RPG, I'll shoot him with that, you know.
Give me something to use.
Something. Yeah. Yeah. So he's a hammer, man. He's a hammer. Yeah. But I have been hunting with the new Easton, the FMJ Max.
Yeah,
I'm really liking those.
So I've only ever shot Easton. I started with the Axis. Yep. I fell in love with the Sonics when they came out.
Yep, that's what I've got my camera girl shooting, are the Sonics.
I went to go order more Sonics. They were sold out, so I ordered the 6.5s. So I tried those out. Those were pretty good. But then I wanted to go back to the Sonics, and then I kept seeing these experimental stickers on everything. I'm like, oh, they're cooking something up. I'm gonna wait, right? And then I thought to myself, what would they do to the lineup that they, you know, what could they possibly do? Well, they need to revitalize the 5mm, right? Yeah. And sure enough, those 5.0s I am going to be buying as soon as I can. As soon as anybody gets them in stock, I don't care where they are. And the half outs, they just look just perfect.
Yeah, they're really cool. Yeah, Cody over there at Easton, he called me, and he knows that I like the FMJs.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, you and Cam Haynes, you guys love the FMJs, you know. And he's like, what's your complaint? I was like, man, I'd love to get a little bit more speed out of my FMJs. And he goes, in 4 days, all your prayers are coming true. And I open it up, and I'm like, you know, literally like 9.6, grain or whatever. Yeah. You know, I'm like, oh, I picked up like 30 feet, on my bow. And so I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Yeah. So I'm really digging those. And I've never really been a super heavy arrow guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, the heaviest I've ever ran is like 520, 525.
Okay.
My total weight setup has been there. Now I'm like 450, 440 is about where I'm at now. And that's with a lighted knock, 4 fletch, you know what I mean?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm really happy with that setup. It works really well for me, and I can run that all the way from turkey to elk.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only time I'd make a change is like, Cape Buffalo or something like that.
Yeah. I've always been, build an arrow and use it for everything, not to have like a turkey arrow and then a whitetail arrow.
I've even heard of guys going to tack events and they'll build these like 300 grain arrows just to go to tack. I'm like,
just to get the straighter shot. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, man, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not going to change my sights around and change. I'm not a tinkerer. There are some people that they just love to tinker on their shit. And I'm like, I would rather put my time into scouting than to tinkering with my bow.
Yeah.
100% all day long. And what I need to do is put more time into like family time. You know what I mean? Is what I really should be doing, but that's probably not going to happen. It's going to be more scouting, more cameras, more photos, and more videos. Yeah.
So how much longer do you have? Like, when does the season completely end for whitetail for you guys?
So I was kind of weird. Like, we have 2 shotgun seasons.
Okay.
And the way that it works as a resident is you can get 2 buck tags as a resident. We have We have the year-long bow season, but even that you can't hunt during shotgun season.
So you have to stop.
You got to stop. You got to sit out. Do you have an early muzzleload season? You have a late muzzleload season, which is also you can use your archery equipment on as well. And then there's 2 little shotgun seasons that are like 5 or 6 days a piece, but they run consecutive. So there's like an 11-day stretch where if you're not shotgun hunting, you can't do anything at all in the woods.
Right.
So December 23rd, your original archery tag comes back live again. And then also that late muzzleloader season starts up. And our season gets out. Can't quote me on it. I want to say it's like the 9th or the 10th of January, something like that. But I'm usually gone to ATA the last day or 2 of the season anyways. So my season will end around the 8th, for me. And I'll run down to Indianapolis, pop in for a day. And, ATA is not what it used to be.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if no one's ever been, you got to go.
Okay.
But man, 10, 12, 15 years ago, like, you'd see Toby Keith and you'd see like, all the Duck Dynasty boys, and you'd see Lou Ferrigno walking around. I mean, it was kind of cool, but yeah, I mean, it more or less it's become an opportunity that I go and you bump into partners and thank them for the year, working together and another year of working together and that kind of stuff. And I do bump into some, we'll call them colleagues, in the space, other guys with shows or bloggers or podcasters, influencers, stuff like that. And so it's kind of neat to bump into some people that you only see once a year.
Right.
But once the bow manufacturers pulled out, it just really hurt the show.
Yeah, because that used to be everything new was announced at ATA.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, that would be your unveilings, and that was so awesome.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Matthews, that started it. And they were like, hey, we're unveiling our bows in October.
Yeah.
And then everybody kind of followed suit, then everybody started doing that. And I was like, really? Like, why are we launching bows mid-season? Like, this makes no sense, but somebody wanted to be first. And then this company wanted to be first. And then before you know it, I'm like, maybe it'll keep going and we'll get to where we're launching bows in July, and then it'll be okay again. But yeah, that's what made ATA cool was they were like, attention, Matthews is unveiling their new bows at noon, and then Hoyt is launching their bows at 2. And so the swarm, you would just go booth to booth to booth, and you see they'd have it covered up with a cloth or a drape or something, and then the unveiling, it's like the lights would get brighter all of a sudden. I don't know if it really happened, but it seemed like the lights got brighter, and you're like, Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how they do it year after year. Like, I'd love to be a fly on the wall of some of those, design or engineering meetings that they have. It's like, how are you going to make this better?
Right.
And then they've got people working on shit that's not going to get ready for another 8 years.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's like,
I was with Sitka, for 8 years before I went to Under Armour, and I can tell you that Sitka, their R&D team, they were working on shit that wasn't going to see the light of day for 2 years.
Yeah, wow.
And that was always kind of cool to be a part of that. And I mean, I've got so much gear still at my house that's like prototype stuff that it was different. Yeah, it was different colors and different textiles and stuff like that. And, but I left there and went over to Under Armour the start of the 22 season.
Right. Yeah.
And we started negotiating at the end of 21. And, if anybody has like really followed along with me, they'll remember that 21 season. I shot $5 and a moose in like, it was like 40 days.
It had one hell of a season that year.
It was crazy.
It was unreal. I was like, man.
I'm like, this is a season. I'm like, I don't ever want this season to end.
Yeah, ride that train.
Yeah. I don't know what lucky horseshoe I had up my ass that year, but it was all like day 1 kills, day 2 kills. And it was like, this is crazy. And then Under Armour's like, really? Had we known that, we would have signed the deal right before the fall. You know what I mean? But, but anyways, it's been a good run with Under Armour. When is this podcast going to drop?
This will be the last week of January, the last Thursday in January.
Okay, so I can go ahead and say this.
Okay.
I'm leaving Under Armour.
Oh.
Don't know where I'm going yet.
Okay.
Under Armour is pulling out of Hunt altogether completely.
Are they?
Yeah, so it wasn't like they fired me. It's
No.
They fired Lee Lukoski. They're just getting out of Hunt completely.
Altogether.
There will be no more Under Armour camouflage, whatsoever. We just found, Lee and we didn't find out about it till September. And I've had people have been blowing me up and they're like, hey dude, I'm trying to buy some UA stuff online. There ain't shit on there. Like, what's going on? I'm like,
keep looking.
Yeah. I'm like, the NDA says I can't say anything. You know what I mean? I'm like,
when is it going to be announced then?
January 1. Well, my contract ends December 31st. Yeah. Okay. So January 1, legally, I'm allowed to say something about it. But
okay.
So here it is. I had a badass June, July in Arizona chasing elk. And then we get into September. I shoot a smoker whitetail in Kentucky. And then I shoot my biggest muley ever in Colorado.
I was going to ask you to tell that story, but we'll get there.
I will. Yeah. And then I get hit with this, like a ton of bricks.
Oh God.
Like your leading partner, you are no longer going to be an Under Armour athlete. And I'm like, it's, and as anybody can imagine, it's a money deal.
Well,
and it's a big money deal.
It's also one you were going after for a while. Like that was, you put in the work and you got there, and then
I tried to get them in 2009. I'm sorry.
13 was
2013. Yeah, 2013. I was told no, that I wasn't good enough, and I wasn't a big enough brand. And not that I wasn't good enough. That my photography wasn't good enough. I didn't have the platform, that they needed. And so, you had guys like Remy Warren and Cam Haynes, and, Dudley was over there, and, you had bigger name guys that were crushing it at that time. And, I was like, you're small potatoes, So yeah, it sucks, man. Cause it's like, man, I feel like I got a seat at the table and then somebody pulled the chair out from underneath me,
Yeah. Sorry, dinner's over.
Yeah, that's it. You're too late. All the leftovers are gone.
Oh.
So I was like, damn it. So, now
you're
here
free
it is.
agent.
Yeah. So it's October, chasing whitetails, and I made another trip back out to Arizona, had a muley tag, and my focus is supposed to be on hunting, but this is where the business side comes in. There is no hunting if John can't pay a mortgage.
That's right.
So that, and you have a camera person and camera people. I have several camera people that work for me, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So half of my brain, I'm glassing for muleys, and half my brain's looking for muleys, and the other half is going, am I going to have groceries next month?
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it. Right. So I don't have a trust fund. There is no plan B.
No,
it is what it is. So, and I think that's where people are like, oh, champagne problems, man, break out the violin. And I'm like, no, this is real. This is reality.
This is real life.
Yeah. I'm like, think about if you got fired from your job, what are you going to do? So I'm in the same position. And I think people think because maybe this is not a real job per se, that it doesn't have the same sacrifices. And I'm like, no, it's a paycheck.
It's definitely a real, I talk to some people, and my brother works in TV on a kid's TV show, and I'll tell him stories from my job, and he's like, Jesus, I'm trying to get, episodes of a TV show in on time, and you're dealing with all kinds of stuff that it's not the same, right? And I'm just like, well, no, it's fine. It's just a different thing. Or my sister-in-law is a musician, and she travels all over the world, and she entertains people. That's an important job, right? But there's times where everybody kind of feels like maybe, it's not, what they're doing isn't important, but everybody has a spot somewhere, and that every job is important.
That's right. Yeah.
They're
all, I always say it's all cogs in a machine.
Right.
And it all has to kind of flow together. So like I said, I've been trying to hunt my ass off chasing this 200-inch buck in Iowa this year, But in the back of my head, I'm like, man, if I don't replace Under Armour, or at least that budget, that money, like I'm screwed, you know? So, you know, you start talking to different companies, and word travels pretty fast. Like, fortunately, I've had some camo companies that have reached out and they're like, hey, I heard you might be a free agent, you know? And, but you know, again, you want to find the right fit. What's gonna fit with your brand? You know, what are they pushing? Like, are they pushing a bunch of like, God, I'll probably get lit up for this. Are they pushing just a bunch of huntresses for likes and clicks and, you know what I mean? Like, or are they, you know, are they promoting people that are half dressed, men or women, you know, but like, are they genuinely trying to promote hunting, and are they trying to convert sales, or, you know, what is it that they're looking for? What's their brand message? You know, that type of thing. So, you know, you want to work with authentic companies and people that you jive with. And that's super important to me, because I want to feel like I could pick up the phone at any time and say, hey, this product's not working for me. You know, what can I do differently? How can I promote it better? Or how can we tweak it, change it, whatever. So there's a few irons in the fire. You know, I won't name the companies that I've been talking to, but yeah, there's 2 or 3 that I feel like at any day now we could close the deal. But what I also know is the reality is because of the inflation and the cost of things, camo companies, apparel brands are hurting right now. They're not healthy at all. And everybody's crunching their numbers. And today I actually just lost one of my longest running partners. I thought, when the guy called me, I thought he was going to be in tears. And he's like, dude, it is nothing you did. It is a corporate decision. We're cutting everybody. Wow. We hired 2 in-house photographers, and that's what we're going to do moving forward to try to save some money. That's scary. I was like, is there anything I could have done? And they're like, no, dude. Like, that's why I'm in tears. Like, this was the hardest call that I had to make today. We cut 25 people today, and you were the hardest call to make. Wow. And I'm like, I mean, I guess that makes me feel decent, but I'm still sucks. $1,000 in the hole. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's a brand that I've been with for 8 years. Wow. Yeah. You know, so now he did say there's a possibility that we might do some little projects together here and there, some one-off pieces or something. So, but as far as like a retainer guaranteed income every month, like that's coming to an end. So yeah, it's unfortunate, man. It's, I hate to see it. You know, I don't care what party of politics somebody believes in. But as a country, we just got to get better. You know, the economy's got to get better. We got to stop all this senseless sending money to other countries. It's gotten out of hand. You know, now I'm preaching to the choir because I've heard you guys aren't too happy with your all's people over there. So
how much time do you have?
Yeah. I know Trudeau's got his own issues, and I've never met a Canadian that was like, I love what we're doing in our parliament, you know.
Changes are coming.
I hope. And hopefully it's just a wave that continues for everybody, you know, we've gotten in a bad place, you know. So I hope there's a lot of changes. Hell, the other day I got shadow banned on Instagram. Like, I made a post that got like 16 likes, and I'm like, what? So somebody's like, man, you need to check your account. And I went and checked. They had like temporarily banned me. They had flagged one of my loophole posts. I was holding a pair of binoculars, and they said that it promoted marijuana use. I was holding binoculars. I'm like, this isn't a bong. I mean, I guess I could drill it out and maybe light it and try to smoke.
It takes some work, but yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like, I appealed it, and I wrote in my appeal, I was like, I don't even drink or smoke. Like, I've been sober for almost 4 years. I was like, guys,
it's glass and plastic.
I'm not promoting marijuana use. And they were like, oh, my bad. Like, our AI must have falsely detected that. Yeah, we'll lift the ban. And then the next post got like 800 likes or whatever, you know. But I'm like,
I heard that, Montana Knife Company was going through that for a while.
Josh Smith, they were hitting him super hard over that. I'm like, hey guys, it's not working. Your AI is not working.
Yeah. Fix the
we gotta make
program.
yeah. And again, it's a knife.
Yeah. I know.
Like, I mean, according to the John Wick movies, you can kill somebody with a number 2 pencil, but they're not shadow banding Ticonderoga pencil company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
those supplies are going on watch. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. They're going to bludgeon somebody with a big pen.
Oh
So
man.
I know it kind of started back when I owned Wicked. I got into it with Facebook. We did, there was one year that we did like $250,000 from Facebook leads.
Okay.
You know, the traffic came from Facebook. They clicked shop now, went to our website, and that's where they bought from. And then the next year we did $3,000. And I was like, what? What's going on? And I called Facebook or went through this appeal process, and I got an email back, and they said that they had grouped Wicked Tree Gear as a brand, as a company, as an entity on social media in the same category as ninja throwing stars and nunchucks. So I had all these crazy ideas that I was going to dress up as a ninja, you know, with my Wicked saw. And I'm like, oh, that'll probably just get us kicked off Facebook.
That'll kicked off altogether. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I'm like, really, guys?
Oh,
like,
shit.
I was like, I have a degree in horticulture. Like, this is a saw that is used. Like, we sell these to people that, you know, prune fruit trees to keep the tree bearing fruit and not, you know, growing into each other and choking itself out. And they're like, yeah, no. Weapons of mass destruction, ninja throwing stars, nunchucks. There's a whole list, but we fell into that category for a folding wood cutting handsaw. I was like, yeah, good job, Zuckerberg. Yeah. So it's a pain, man. Oh, so Colorado mule deer.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Let's do that.
Yeah. So a good buddy of mine, Brennan, we met through social media, and how we met was he was a Hoyt guy, and he was looking at Hoyts and wanted my opinion on the new Hoyts and the new cam system. When they went to that RX5, you know, that was the first year that they had done new cams in like 8-9 years. You know what I mean? And so anyways, he wanted my opinion on that, and we were texting back and forth. And this went on for like a year. And I was like, I don't think he's a crazy person. I'm going to go ahead and give him my cell number. So I gave him my cell, and he called me, and we chit chatted, you know, over the course of a few months. And he invited me to come out and hunt at their family has a big cattle ranch in Colorado. Cool. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And, you know, I'm the first to say, I like public land. I like private land better. I do. You know what I mean? Sorry. I guess that makes me a shitty hunter. You know what I mean? So, so anyways, we go out there, and the camera guy that came out with me that year, he's like, do you know this guy? I'm like, no. I'm like, we're opening bottles of water only until I know this guy.
That's right.
I was like, I am not going to wake up and not remember what happened.
That's right.
You know,
yeah, if you tilt the water bottle and it moves really slowly, it's GHG.
Yes,
don't drink it.
Exactly. Yeah. If I see copious amounts of baby oil, we're leaving. No Diddy. Yeah. So anyways, we go there. I shoot a velvet muley, and it's great. The next year I go back, I shoot a velvet muley again. And then this year I go back, and everything had shed. And so I was like, oh man, because what I was trying to do was a velvet elk, a velvet mule deer, and a velvet whitetail all in one season. Now, I will say that the mule deer that I shot, which is, right there, hanging up behind me. I'm so bad about moving angles. Yeah. So there's that one. There is a little bit of velvet still on it. Just a little bit. And same thing with the whitetail. He actually had some velvet hanging down off of his bases. So maybe I can say they were all 3 velvet, but yeah, man, it's one of those deals where there's like there's a lot of 2 tracks through this old cattle ranch. They don't have cattle on it anymore, but a lot of the tractor 2-track trails go through there. And, you know, a lot of what we do is we drive the truck and stop. We glass from the truck. We drive, glass from the truck. And then once we see something we want to go after, you know, then we bail out of the truck and, we start our hike in, start our stalk in. So very, very limited time would you ever like throw a couple of bottles of water in a backpack. Usually you just go with your bow and your cameras, and we're driving up this day. We wanted to go all the way to the top of this big rock. It's almost like a big chimney rock type spot. And you could just glass, thousands of acres. Right. And we're driving up, and out of the corner of my eye, I spot this mule deer bedded down in this scrub oak. So I never even look at it. And my camera guy is sitting beside me in the passenger seat. And I go, "Hey, Drew, I just spotted an absolute stud to my left, bedded down." He's like, "Why aren't we stopping?" I'm like, no, we're just going to keep going till we get to the top. And then we're going to use that topography so we can stalk down the hill. We can maintain visual on him, and we're just going to zigzag in this scrub oak,
Right.
And so when we're on these stalks like this, I turn my mics up really high.
Yep.
Because we're whispering. But that's a pet peeve of mine, is in hunting videos when they're like, "Okay, so here's what we're going to do." Yeah. I can't stand that, right?
My wife walks in when I'm watching stuff, and she'll start talking to me like that.
Yeah. So I always turn my mics up so I can talk without having to whisper, but that way the mic's picking up everything that I'm saying, right? It doesn't sound like I'm whispering.
Right.
And if you're, especially in that episode, you can hear every blade of grass that breaks under my feet. You can hear me breathing, all that. That part's kind of annoying, but whatever. So we stalk all the way in. And when I get busted by this little spike, and I'm like, hunt's over. The spike stands up. I never even saw him, before. He stands up and he runs off. Well, the big buck that I want, he just stands up and he's looking at the spike like, "Dude, what are you doing? Like, I thought we were supposed to take a nap today." What I mean?
Yeah. Why are we running?
Yeah. Why are we running? What are you running for? So because he's staring so hard at him, it allows me to close this distance to where I can see his head, and I know what direction his head's looking. And I know generally where his vitals are, but I can't see his vitals because of a scrub oak that's halfway between me and him. And I'm like, the arch of archery says that when I shoot, I'm going to clear that bush.
Right.
So, but my pin is buried in this scrub oak. And I'm like, this is like a Sean DeGray total archery challenge shot right here,
Yeah.
And I've joked with Sean after this hunt about this, and I'm like, all those years of TAC events is what allowed this to happen, to have that confidence, to burn that pin on. I'm like, if I have a flat shooting arrow, I'm smoking that bush. But I was still hunting those heavy FMJs, so I knew I was going to have a big arch.
Yeah, and
drills this thing right in the armpit. You know what I mean? And literally runs 100 yards and kills over. And in the episode, it's kind of douchey, but like as soon as I released the arrow, I turned back to my camera guy and I went, "Dead deer." Like, I knew it. As soon as the arrow, as soon as that arrow hit there, I'm like, I didn't even watch him anymore. I was like, he's dead.
Yeah. And
he's like, "Dude, that's the coldest, most badass thing you said in the whole episode."
Confident in myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I knew it was a dead deer. And having confidence in your bow and your sight, and your arrows, your broadheads, the luminok. It's just shot repetition and building up that confidence in that stuff. And as we approached that muley, he just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, "Oh, no ground shrinkage on this guy."
That's amazing.
So that was super cool. And it's such a fun place to go. Colorado's kind of a weird state politically, but man, it's a beautiful state. It's a beautiful, beautiful state with a lot of good hunting, still there.
Yeah. A friend of mine went down there for elk with his wife. I think this is the last year they're doing non-resident over the counter.
24 was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
so that's going to get interesting, with that deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a bummer. I think it's the last year for non-resident archery. Okay. I think they're still going to do over-the-counter non-resident rifle.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Hmm.
I'm 46. Memory's not the best.
Oh, I'm 40. I'll be 44 in a couple of weeks. I know.
Dude, you look younger. Wait, you look way younger than me. So good job. It's that cold, crisp air up there in Ontario.
Yeah, it's cold as fuck up here. Yeah.
And the good laughter from Letterkenny.
Yes.
So funny thing about Letterkenny, I watched like 2 or 3 episodes before I went to Ontario. The first time I went to Nipigon, and I was like, I mean, it's kind of funny. And then I hunted in Nipigon, and then I came home, and then I started watching it. I'm like, best show ever. Best show ever. Now I have context. You know what I mean?
You're living in the show.
Yeah. Because in Nipigon, I saw Hicks, Skids, D-Gens. I got to see all of it. You know what I mean? Right there.
Yeah. That's
awesome. It's great. So the show's a classic.
Yeah, that's so good. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I could talk to you all night, but let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah. So Instagram, johnny.utah.hunt is probably where I'm the most active on posts and stories and stuff like that. If you like to watch fairly mediocre hunting content episodes, you can watch it on the Waypoint TV channel, the Waypoint app. It's a free app. Even if you don't have it on your smart TV, you can go straight to Waypoint TV and download the app, and you can binge watch past seasons and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, when I go on a hunt, live content usually takes me about 2 weeks to edit an episode and then get it uploaded to the network. And they're really good working with me and getting my stuff up there right away, which I like doing that. You know, who wants to watch a hunt a year after they saw the post about it on social media? You know what I mean? So
I agree. Yeah.
It puts a lot of work on me because it means I'm editing mid-season, you know, in between hunts. So whenever I do my hunts, I schedule a trip back to the office, you know, for a week to edit, do music, do closed captioning, get it uploaded, unpack the truck, repack the truck, and then spin up to the next hunt. So it makes things extremely busy, but I think it's cooler. I don't know if it is or not, but and then on Facebook, Johnny Utah Hunt Official. Yeah, man, that's me. And if you see me out at a show or a TAC event, please come say hello. Like, I love meeting everybody and hearing where everybody's from, and you know, show me all your spikes or 200-inch deer. I don't care. I like deer, so show me what you're shooting.
That is the one good thing about social media. You get to connect with people you wouldn't normally meet, such as
absolutely.
This, what we're doing right now, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of other people that I've met through, you know, talking to companies through the videos, and then now starting this up, reaching out to people. And I messaged people I didn't think I would ever hear from, and they're like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it. I'm free next week." I'm like, "What?" All right,
yeah,
awesome. So yeah, it's great. It's a great community we have.
It is funny. Sometimes I'll get DMs from people. They'll send me a message and they're like, "Is this actually really you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I'm too poor to have somebody else run my social media." I'm like, "You're talking to me." I was like, "That's why you got a response at 3:00 in the morning Central Time."
I'm editing right now. Leave me alone.
Yeah. I'm like, it's me. And they're like, "Holy shit, dude. Like, I thought I was going to get an auto response from, like, you know, an assistant." Or I'm like, "No, dude." I'm like, "I'm poor as hell. What are you talking about? I'm literally scraping just to get through the next season, you know?" We're the same. I'm just like everybody else, you know what I mean? So that part's pretty cool, connecting with people. And I, you know, I told somebody today, the best compliment I've ever received actually was at the Pennsylvania TAC event this year. Somebody came by the Sevr booth and they go, "Dude, you're the same cat in real life as what you are on your episodes. So it's not an act, you know?" And I'm like, dude, I was like, that, you know, that means the world to me, because I still feel like good guys will ultimately finish first one of these days.
One of these days we will, yeah.
One of these days we're going to get there.
Stick together.
That's right. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Awesome. Yeah, hopefully I'll have you on another time. We'll keep going.
Yeah, anytime, man.
But
I love doing podcasts.
good luck with the rest of your season, and hopefully you catch up to that big boy that's eluding you. And
me too. I kind of committed this season. I said it's either him or Tag Suit. Now I have 2 buck tags, so I might have an opportunity. But when I still just had the 1 buck tag for the majority of the season through October and November and the first part of December, I was like, it's him or nothing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Can't wait to hear the rest of the story.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Well, you guys stay warm up there, and do what you Canadians do, and with your boats and all that good stuff and A's.
We do the best we can.
Yeah, I love it, dude. Every Canadian I ever met is like rock solid. Literally every Canadian I ever met. I'm like, can you guys just come here and we'll send some of our people up there?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Sweet.
All right, thanks again.
Hey, thanks, brother. Sounds good.
All right, bye.
Yep.